Welcome to the Caregivers Lounge, where we dive into the laughter, love, and lessons of caregiving. Because let's be real, this journey is unpredictable. I'm Shaunté Newby, your host, and whether you're caring for aging parents, deep in the caregiving trenches, just starting out, or simply curious about this world, you found the right place. Here, we share stories, swap insights, and remind each other that no one has to do this alone. So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's unwind together. Welcome back to the Caregivers Lounge. Today, we're diving into a topic that hits close to home for so many caregivers: venting about our loved ones. Caregiving is hard, and sometimes we need to let it out. But how do we balance those moments of frustration with the awareness that others might see things differently, especially those who've lost their parents or loved ones? So picture this: you're having one of those days. You're stressed, overwhelmed, and you just need to vent about the latest thing your loved one did to you that drove you crazy and up the wall. But then someone gently reminds you, at least you still have them. That perspective can be tough to hear in the moment, but it's one we all need to think about. So let's be real. Caregiving is exhausting. It can be really exhausting. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Some days your patience just runs out. I know mine does. Maybe it's the endless reminders about taking medication, or the fifth time they've asked you the same question in a short period of time. Venting is a natural response to stress, and it doesn't mean you love them any less. It just means you're human. I know that personally. I've had so many experiences where I was so fed up. I was frustrated, and I can share actually a couple examples of what I would vent about. So, I think you remember in one of the earlier episodes, I mentioned my dad having eye surgery. I didn't share the story about the first scheduled eye surgery, rather, until now. I'm going to share it with you now, actually. So here's what happened. He had his surgery scheduled for I want to say it was a Monday. And prior to surgery, I had calendar reminders. I had everything reminding this man not to eat any food. Don't eat anything after midnight. I had a calendar alert. I had an alarm in the morning, and all these things to remind him. So, fast forward, we get to the appointment and we're sitting there and waiting. And he says to me, I don't even know what made him say it, but he's like, "Oh, yeah, I just had a little banana this morning." And I almost lost it. But before I lost it, I wanted to understand why it was important not to eat before surgery, because I was one of those people, they tell you not to eat, or that's the instruction. You just follow it, right? So I said, let me Google what could happen if you eat prior to surgery. So, of course, Google University freaked me out. And if you don't know, you Google what can happen if you eat before surgery. It's not good. It's not a good outcome. As a matter of fact, it's probably one of the worst things that could happen in what you think is a simple surgery. So, after I saw what that meant and what that could mean for my father, I lost it. I went off on him. You would have thought he was a child the way I was sitting there. And I was just so upset. And it's like, I thought about everything I put into place, even calling him and reminding him the night before. I thought I put everything into place. Everything was perfectly set up, and it still didn't work. My system didn't work. It failed me. So the rest of that story is, I said, okay, well, we need to find out what happens if you eat. So you're going to have to tell them you ate. He said, I'm not going to tell them. I probably shouldn't have told you. And I'm like, what do you? Anyways, so we go back to get checked in. And the first question they ask is, did you eat anything? He looked at me. I looked at him. I said, go on and tell them. And so he told me, he's like, yeah, I ate a banana. So the lady that was checking us in had to figure out what that meant, right? So she said, you're not supposed to eat. I know that you're not supposed to eat, but let me let the doctor know that you ate, and it was like 2 hours ago, and it was only a banana, and we're going to see what happens. So she went back there, and they said no, they couldn't perform the procedure. And he was only having cataract surgery, which takes minutes. But because he would be under anesthesia, it was critical that he did not eat. before, because when you look up what could happen and they explained to me, a person could choke while they're under, and that outcome could be very extreme. So my crazy imagination, of course, is like, you would have gone back there, not telling anybody you had this banana. Something would have happened in what was supposed to be a simple surgery. I go off on the people doing the surgery and the whole facility, only to find out that you ate a banana. And so it's your fault and not theirs. So, yes, I remember venting about that happening, and it felt good to vent about it. But just to share with you something I vent about. And while that was an extreme story, there's this thing that my dad is into right now too, that I kind of vent about because it's all over the place. But he is into collecting coins. And the problem with this is there are all of these content creators making videos about coins being so valuable. And my father is like, well, I have these coins and we're going to be millionaires. And when you look at the coin, you're like, okay, it's not the coin they're describing. Or a lot of people are commenting on these videos saying, hey, I have the same penny or the same quarter. What does this mean? And contact me. And my dad is thinking you can just call the people online, and then we just go back and forth. I've done almost everything I can to get these coins validated. I took them to an expert, a couple of experts. We went to coin collectors. We even saw one that came into town, and for some reason, everybody's wrong but him. He's like, they don't know what they're talking about. And the funny thing is he watches those videos, and sometimes the videos aren't even in English, and he's just like excited. I got this same coin, and I'm looking at the video. I'm like, but you're not listening to the video clearly, because this video is not even in English. So yeah, that's just another something that I've been about. So if you know me personally, you may have heard some of these stories, or you will hear these stories. All right. So now that you've vented to someone, it's time to think about the perspective of those who've lost a loved one or they've lost their parents. So, on the flip side, there's a whole group of people who hear us venting and wish that they could trade places with us. Losing a parent or a loved one changes your perspective in many ways you might not expect. It's not about guilt tripping ourselves for feeling frustrated, but rather reminding ourselves to find the gratitude in caregiving even during the hard times. And that is something that woke me up one day. I remember venting to a friend and colleague. And of course, I'm very animated when I'm describing the story, and I'm frustrated and I'm like, oh, he's doing this and he's doing that. And she just smiled and she said, you know what? I love hearing these stories about Uncle Joe. I love hearing these stories about your dad. And I'm living vicariously through you when I hear these stories. And when she said that, I remembered that she lost both of her parents. And it almost made me cry. And it really, like I said, it was eye opening. And it's like, do you know how many people would trade just even a few minutes of what you're experiencing? And that was my big aha moment, having that conversation with her. So, how do we find the balance? First, it's okay to vent. I just say make sure it's someone who understands your journey and won't make you feel guilty. I have a few people that I can say things to about what's going on, and they can relate because they are going through something similar, or they just know our history. So I have those certain people that I can vent to. And because sometimes people are like, oh, you just need to be patient and understanding. And what they fail to understand is when I'm venting to them, something probably happened 15 times and I was okay. But then I reached the 16th time and it's like a breaking point, and then I vent. That's it. So again, people only see that venting. They don't see that the 15 times you ignored something that hurt your feelings or that disappointed you or made you mad, right? They don't see that. They just hear what you're telling them in the moment. So, next, I would suggest taking some time to reflect. And gratitude doesn't mean that you're ignoring all the hard parts. It means you're appreciating the moments you still have, even when they're tough. Even when they're tough. So I've been working on that over the past few years. And I will say that I do find myself in the moment when I get a little frustrated. I think about someone who doesn't have their loved one anymore. And I think about the memories I'm making. And I'm thinking about doing what I can to keep my loved one happy, right? So here are some things that I would recommend doing when you feel the need to vent or just in general. You hear this all the time. Journaling. It's so helpful. It's so rewarding. It's peaceful. It's thoughts that you can just put out on paper. You're getting it out of your mind and putting it on paper. Mine started as a journal when I was dealing with my dad being in the hospital, and then it turned into a book. So who knows? Journal. It's therapeutic. I actually also keep a list of caregiving moments. I mentioned that to you, and I've actually been sharing things from that list. Caregiving moments, things that happen, and you can't make this stuff up, right? So, a caregiving moment example could be the time that my father received a check in the mail. And the check was one of those loan checks, but he thought it was one of those checks from his annuity plan or something because the amount was very similar. And he took the check to the bank and and I got the story of how everything happened. So I'm just going to tell you what happened. He took the check to the bank and the teller looked at the check and they know my dad and they said, "Hey, are you sure you want to cash this? Are you sure this is the check you want to cash?" And they tried to explain to him what kind of check it was and he was very adamant. "Yes, it's my money. I'm cashing this check." And they cashed it. So when I got to his house and I saw an envelope or something, he mentioned the check and I said, "Oh, Dad, that's not your check. It's not even scheduled to be here now. It should be in a few months." And when I saw the envelope, I said, "Oh my God." I rushed to the bank. And that's when I got the whole story of what happened. And thankfully, they reversed the check because if that check was cash, it would have been a loan. So, yes, there is a caregiving moment that I experienced. A list of 100 things so far. I think it's like 120 now. I pull them out for comedy and I'll pull them out for this show as well. And I share them with people just to see what they think and hear their experiences. So the next suggestion I have with you is seek some people that are in similar situations with you. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people that I didn't even know that were in a similar situation. And we had that common theme, caring for a loved one. It's nothing like caring for a loved one that's an adult that's like your kid. And when you meet someone who is going through the same thing as you, or even in your circle, I don't know about you, but I'm at the age where most of my friends are in similar situations. Of course, their parents are in different situations as far as not all of their parents had a stroke. Not all of their parents necessarily need to be managed the way mine does, but they still have some similar aging parent stories that we bounce off of each other. And can you believe that this happened? And it feels really refreshing to have somebody to vent to for free. And you can always talk to a therapist. Always. I cannot stress that enough. Therapy is okay. I talk to my therapist all the time. And you're here in the Caregivers Lounge. Right now, I do have a virtual group set up in Facebook. It's just starting, but still, if you're interested, find that, join it. Other people who are experiencing what you're experiencing, you can post anonymously. But again, you're in a community of people that are going through something that you are going through. So let me know if this is something you want to be a part of. Just send me a message, drop it in the comments, and I can give you further instructions on how to be a part of that. This has been fun talking about venting. I never thought that talking about venting could be fun because venting it isn't fun, but you get the point. So caregiving is a journey of highs and it's okay to feel both frustration and gratitude. Vent when you need to, but also take a moment to appreciate the little things. the laughs, the lessons, and yes, even the chaos. And if you've lost your parents, I hope this episode resonates as a reminder that we honor them and how we show up for those we still have. So, what's one moment that made you laugh, cry, or vent as a caregiver? Share it in the comments below. Share it in the email, Caregivers Lounge at iCloud.com. And if you're watching as someone who's lost a parent, let us know your thoughts. And if you've been in that situation where someone vented to you, how did you take it? How did you handle it? What did you say to them to help shift their perspective? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone navigating the caregiving roller coaster. Remember, you may be already caregiving and it just hasn't been labeled as such. So until then, see you next time.